All right, let's move to this story now. The Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA, says it's studying the policy directive for a possible change in the law that would allow Starlink and similar telecommunications companies to operate in South Africa. Now, Communications Minister Solly Malatsi has now formally gazetted a request for public comment, kicking off today. It's the first step towards adopting the proposals. Under the draft proposal from the minister, Starlink and other services would be able to use other means to comply with BBBE legislation. This means South African-born tech billionaire Elon Musk would be able to retain full ownership of his company. Musk has repeatedly claimed that he can't operate Starlink in South Africa because he is not black. Well, let's get reaction on this then. We're joined by Black Business Council CEO Kganki Matabane, who joins us now. Kganki, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. This just seems like it's the government saying, we'll make a special decree just for you, Elon Musk. Oh, and there's everybody else as well who wants to come in after that. We'll change it then. Is it just opportune, or does this really mean that we're going to get better investment into the country? Your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Arabil, and good afternoon to you and the viewers. Strange things do happen in South Africa, like Donald Trump says, terrible things are happening, which is not true. But strange things do happen, and I think the timing of what Minister Malatsi has done is very, very suspect. It happens immediately after the president has said, we're trying to find ways of accommodating Elon Musk to South Africa. And you can't do that. You can't come up with laws that are accommodating an individual. It means that our country is gone if that happens. And especially, this is the very same individual who's insulting us left, right, and center, accusing us of white genocide, even if his father stays here. You can see, and this is the very same person who was threatening Ukraine to switch off Starlink in Ukraine if Ukraine does not comply to what they want. So imagine the safety of South Africa and the safety of South African data with that type of a person. It's just very, very strange. But we hope it's not true. And we hope it's just coincidence that the minister is issuing those regulations for comments now. And we'll definitely comment, but we are not against Starlink or any other low orbit satellites, because there are many other low orbit satellites in China and other countries. We're not against that. We're not against any investment into South Africa. We're against trying to change laws of a sovereign country to accommodate an individual or to accommodate a company. Remember, Elon Musk's company did not even attend the hearings at the ICASA. So you can see these are the people who are not necessarily respectful of a country that they want to invest in. So I think the amendments can be made as long as they are not made to try and accommodate one company or one individual, because that means we'll have lost our sovereignty as a country, and that cannot be allowed.
Yeah. Kganki, what about people, what about the sentiment then that this could actually bring in more investment into the country? Forget Starlink. This could really raise the amount of competition that comes into the country, which could lower prices in certain aspects or provide better services, or just make sure that a whole lot more people are actually connected. That would be the other side of this argument, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Hence, I'm saying we've got no issue with any low orbit satellite coming to South Africa. But whoever comes to South Africa, like whoever goes to any country in the world, you must go there and comply with their legislation. You can't want to be exempted from complying with the legislation, because then you are creating a banana republic.
But what I mean, Kganki,
you cannot allow a banana republic. People can come and invest in South Africa, like there are people who are investing in South Africa. We've got so many telcos and ICT companies from America, but they're complying with our legislation.
Yeah.
Even if they do what is called equity equivalent, which is part of the BE Act, be equity equivalent is allowed. It only deals with the ownership part.
Yeah.
You still have to do employment equity. You still have to do procurement from Black people. You still have to do skills development. You still have to comply with all the other elements of BEE. So we can't have a dispensation for an individual or one company. That
but Kganki, what I mean, Kganki, is if we let loose on this law, would it not create greater or better investments or more investments? I'm playing devil's advocate here because that would be the other side of this conversation and the coin. Because despite him, if this does go ahead, despite them not having to agree to that 30% ownership, they would still need to invest in local suppliers, in local enterprise, in skills development, in job creation, in infrastructure support, research and innovation, digital inclusion initiatives, and funding of SMMEs. Is that still not fulfilling the task of government either way?
Yeah, I think that will be in the details. But seeing how the man is behaving in the US, where they are killing diversity programs all over the world, you can't tell me he's going to do those things that you are talking about. But I think we'll wait for the details. We'll participate in the process of inputting and commenting on the document. But the principle remains. We cannot bend our legislation and rules to accommodate one company or one individual. If it's open to everyone, it's fine. If it brings investment, it's fine. But it must still operate within the constitution, within the legislations that we have, so that we are not being unfair to people who have invested in South Africa. Remember, there are companies that have invested in South Africa that have sold 30% stakes. And maybe while I'm there, we just need to also demystify this issue. There's no one who's giving Black people a 30%. Black people buy 30%. They go to financial institutions to borrow money to buy that 30%. They're not given 30% for free. So there's no giving of 30% to any Black person in South Africa. That is a myth.
How do you suggest government then balances out the need for more investment with the rules that the country has kind of set forward then? Because some may feel, and we've continued to speak about this, whether it be in budget discussions, whether it be in economic policy and transformation or trade discussions, that there's too much red tape in South Africa. So how do we balance the two then to say we want the investment, but on the other side, we want to make sure that you apply the rules correctly and we lessen the red tape as much as possible?
Yeah, we fully agree with you. We're working with government on the red tape reduction. But whatever we do must be applicable to everyone. So we need consistency of applications of legislation, because red tape affects all the investors in South Africa, local and international investors. So you can't then reduce certain things for certain investors. You need to be consistently applied. So whatever happens needs to be standardized to everyone. It must apply to everyone. It can't be applied to A and then doesn't apply to B. You don't run a country like that.
Couldn't agree with you more. How do you see this policy direction, if it was to come into play, affect Black-owned ICT businesses?
Yeah, we saw it this today, like everyone else. So we're going to engage with the minister. We're going to engage with ICASA, and we'll then take it from there. We are still studying the document ourselves, and then once we've studied it, and then we'll be able to come to yourself and the media and say this is how we view this. But again, whatever we do as a country must be consistent to everyone, applicable to everyone. It can't be an exempted situation where we're favoring one over the other.
Do you feel like the fight against or the fight for transformation is ultimately being softened, so to speak, in order to appease many other investors?
Yeah, it looks like that. It looks like we are very desperate for investment to such an extent that we want to sell our country, and that cannot be allowed.
And how do we then support transformation a little bit better in this country in terms of inclusion, in terms of creating structures that aid small to medium enterprises to becoming bigger and better, and entities that then don't necessarily need government support at a later stage?
Yeah, we're working with Minister Tau on the transformation fund because you need funding to be able to assist and grow small businesses, black businesses, women-owned businesses, and the Afrikaners have done it before. The Broederbond have done it when the Afrikaners took over. They established funding institutions to fund Afrikaners. For example, if you look at the Volkskas Bank, Allied Banks, and so on. And they created what is now Vanderbilt Park. So it's very, very important that if you want to reindustrialize South Africa, you need to have special funds to fund black people. You've got black people in South Africa who are 92% of the population, but they still own 31 years into democracy. They're still owning less than 5% of the economy. That is a threat to our democracy because one day they'll rise up and render the country ungovernable. So you need to try by all means to avoid that type of a situation.
Kganki, always good chatting to you. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Let's see what happens then when it comes to this dispensation and ultimately whether things change at all when it comes to this ruling. Then Kganki Matabane, the Black Business Council CEO, they're talking to us about possible change in BBBE laws then when it comes to the ICT sector.